Right. In this video, let's actually explain the functions, or describe actually first. Let's describe a multi-user operating system. I'll be repeating myself a lot in this course so that I put my point across. In case you missed some of the points on the other video, probably you will then get them on another video. And sometimes maybe the examples on the way I'll express myself on another video might actually make sense with you better, and hopefully that helps. So, an operating system functions, these are the functions of an operating system, literally. And its main function is to act as an interface between hardware and users. Let's just take a second to understand what that actually means. An interface is literally sort of your border, or literally sort of your your communication point. When you're saying an interface, we're talking about, for example, when you go to your ATMs, the interface is actually that screen and those keyboard, and that what can make you be able to communicate with the ATM. We're saying you can actually be in the queue to go to the ATM. Just picture this. You're in the queue, you're number 3, and someone else is using the ATM. You are not capable to use the ATM yourself from your standpoint, because you are not yet the one interacting with the ATM. When you get to be the one to be first in line, you'll be able now to touch the ATM, to punch in some figures, to insert your debit card and so forth. That which allows you to do that on that particular ATM is the interface between you and the ATM. Because if the ATM didn't have that slot to put your card, it therefore means on this ATM you won't be able to use your card. If the ATM also didn't have a keyboard and also didn't have a touch screen, it means on this ATM you won't be able to punch in your PIN. That would literally then mean this ATM is not working, because the whole point of an ATM is for it to be able to take your card, for example. If not, at least take information from you in case you're doing some cardless services. Therefore, it needs a keyboard or a touch screen for you to type in, or even voice commands. But that can be tricky because we all have different accents and different languages. So probably typing will be the best for an ATM to function well. But in countries where they have very similar languages, you go to your countries like China and so forth, they can actually have voice commands working perfectly, because half the time, half of the population speaks the same or nearly the same. It can't really be applicable in our African setup because of the different tribes that we come from. Coming back to our topic, so that's an interface for you. So now we need to understand, to act as an interface between hardware and users. What we're talking about in this case is that the operating system itself, its job now is to make it possible for the users and their hardware to interact. If your operating system was not working on your computer, you wouldn't have even put it on. If your operating system wasn't working on your computer, you wouldn't have even went to look for this video and watch this video right now. All those capabilities that made your mouse know how to move on the screen like mine right now, and that made you be able to type and search for that video right now, and that made you be able to be watching this video, all that is being done by the operating system. Remember, an operating system is code, so you can't really see it, you can't really touch it, but it's there. It's installed on your computer. For my computer, it's Windows 10. Yours might be Windows 8. And there's also now Windows 11. You might want to try it as well to see how it works. So that's an operating system for you. And all its functions are based on the fact that it should make it possible that your hardware, your keyboard, your screens, and so forth should be able to communicate with you, the user. I hope that makes sense. Now, an operating system must be able to perform the following functions. The first one being enabling startup application programs. Thus, the operating system must have a text editor. Now, let's first talk about what startup application programs are, then the rest will fall into place. Startup application programs are programs that literally run on startup. What do we mean by startup? On startup, it means when you switch on your computer, automatically certain things will have to run for the computer to function. Because, for example, your Microsoft Word, you have to put it on yourself. Maybe you come and press your Windows key and you type Word, and then you press that button there, and Microsoft Word comes. But certain programs have to do so automatically, such as the program that makes you be able to see the display, such as the program that makes it possible for you to see the taskbar, such as the program that makes it possible for you to read the USBs, because you might actually need to get something from the USB. Those programs should actually run automatically, because if you have to run them, that could make it difficult for you to even use the USB itself. Anyway, other things it should have what we call a text editor. A text editor is actually the capacity for you to be able to type in text. Of course, you can install your Windows Word, which is also a text editor, but there are those which are already there by default on every operating system. For example, on Windows, you have what we call Notepad. This app is installed by default on Windows. You don't need to buy it. You don't need to install it yourself. That's a text editor for you there. Again, another thing is that your operating system should actually have a translator. The translator in this particular case is not really about translating Zulu into English, for example. The translator is about translating what we call computer language into human language. Your computer does not understand this text, though they might be in English, and you have a feeling that since when you right click and so forth, your computer gives you options in English, you might then have the impression that your computer speaks English. That's not true. Your computer speaks what we call machine language. Machine language is another subject altogether. We won't really talk about it here, but basically speaking, it's a mathematical language. It doesn't speak in words, it speaks in numbers, and those numbers are binary, which is literally 0 and 1, 0 and 1. That's what machines will do for you, and that's machine language for you. Now, machine language can never be understood by a human being, and the machine, your computer, will never understand English or Zulu or any human language. Those languages totally are different. Therefore, your computer will need a translator to translate between these two languages, human and machine language, and end up with a result that is communication. So that's another thing that your operating system should have by default. Then another thing is an editor of links. Links could vary from a link to another web page. Usually we use links a lot when we're talking about websites, but your computer itself has got links. Let me just show you an example. If you go to your Explorer here, this is quite what we call Explorer, where you actually see your folders and stuff, everything. If you double click on this top part here, you see it's written D : /gold class / or is it a backward slash? I can't remember. System support, training videos /2. So this is literally the link to take me to where my videos are. So this is the first video that I've recorded. This is the video I'm actually recording right now. And this is the link to take me there. So I could actually just copy this and then open Explorer again. And then just come in here, paste it, and say go. As you can see, it took me right back to where I was, just like what a link does on your websites and so forth. So sometimes this could be very useful, especially if you want to access certain folders very fast and so forth. You can just copy their link and paste it in, especially if the folders are inside other folders, inside other folders, inside other folders. That could make it difficult for you to be able to know where to find that particular folder. So why not just paste it into Explorer and find there. What you are pasting there is actually your link. So those are the links that your operating system should be able to have, because if it doesn't have those, or if it doesn't allow you to be able to edit them, then you can't really get access to some of your folders or some of your files and so forth, if not all of them actually. Then the other thing that your operating system must have, it should have the allocation of resources needed to execute programs. That is done by identifying the programs that are running, the need for memory, the peripheral devices, and data protection requirements. Part of this, I think I already showed you yesterday using what we call the taskbar. As you can see, my operating system is the one that is able to see the tasks that I'm doing right now. I've got all these programs running, and I even have these ones in the background. Some of them I don't even know what they do, what they are, but I would advise you not to shut them off, because some of them will actually be helping the main programs to run correctly. All right. So these are the tasks that I have. All of them are given some memory. Memory means the RAM. How much RAM does your computer have? For example, you might just check on your computer if you didn't know by going to this PC and right-clicking and clicking on properties. Now you'll be able to see the properties of your particular computer. Mine is an i5, and its speed is at 2.3 gigahertz, and it's RAM, which means it's memory that we use when you're using this particular, when you're actually doing these particular tasks. Your computer has to put all these things into a certain memory, which we call the RAM. And this RAM is actually 24 gigabytes. And other properties, it's actually a 64-bit operating system. There's also a 32-bit operating system, and you can see no pen here, meaning my computer doesn't allow me to do touchscreen. I don't have a touchscreen on my screen, but other computers could allow that. So these are the properties of my computer, and that RAM that we're talking about is this memory we're talking about here. So as you can see, only 28% of my memory is being used. Whenever you find your computer using up to 100% of its memory, maybe you've got a small RAM. Some computers could even have just 1 gig of RAM, which is very small in today's standards. You'll see that your computer becomes very slow. So your operating system's duty is then to warn you about all that, to say now too much space is being taken in the RAM. You might consider closing some of these apps. So you can come here if this app is still running. Sometimes it can end up not running itself. You can come here and say, I no longer need this Windows Explorer. And someone just want to restart. Okay, I no longer need this notepad. I can just say end task, go to this notepad. I can just say end task, and that's it. The task is gone. Then that's your operating system giving you access to the resources being used, and giving you access also to how to control the use of those particular resources. So there could also be peripheral devices, which you can also find just by clicking the Windows key on your keyboard. That's the key with the Windows logo. Once you click it, you have all these things. You can then start typing to search anything. For example, I can say device. Once I am typing that, you can see there's device manager. Once device manager comes up, sorry, give me a second. Once device manager comes up, I'm able now to see the devices that I have on this particular computer. I've got cameras, which is this little USB webcam. I've got Bluetooth. I've got all these particular Bluetooth devices connected to my computer. And also, I also have my own Bluetooth device on the computer itself. For audio, I have all these audio capabilities and stuff like that. All these things are different depending on which particular computer you are using. You can check yours and see what devices that you have. That's your operating system being able to tell you those peripheral devices. When I say peripheral, I mean devices that maybe we could do without, but they make our lives easier. For example, a mouse. If you're using a laptop like me, you might use the touchpad, or you might put a different mouse like I have, because I find it easier to use than the touchpad. So that's a peripheral device. I could actually do without it. You could actually do without the mouse itself, because your computer, you can actually navigate through it without the mouse, but that's a little bit harder. So those are the things that your operating system is able to do. It should also give you facilities for data compression, sorting, mixing, cataloging, and maintenance of libraries through utility programs available. This is not a hard point. Let's just look at an example. If I go to my Explorer right now, I could actually go to, let's say, to this folder right now. As you can see, I've got all these things planned out like this. I could actually now say, let me change this and zip it so that I can email it. So I will just come here, right click, and then add to archive, or compress and email using this 7-zip application, which doesn't come by default. You might need to install it if you want it, and stuff like that. So these are the capacities that we're talking about. I can rename these folders. I can actually copy and paste this folder elsewhere. I could actually make this folder invisible. I can make sure that no one can see this folder. As you can see, there are certain properties here on your view thing. I can actually then go ahead and say hide selected items. Once I say hide, it means it won't be seen by anyone until I unhide it, and only me can unhide it because I know where it's found anyway, and stuff like that. Those are some of the things that you can be doing with your computer, and it's your operating system that gives you access to that. Number 4, plan implementation works according to certain criteria for efficient use of central process unit. This is almost the same as the allocation of resources. So your computer will be able to actually plan how you will actually be able to use your computer according to the resources that you have. You'll see that if you download a very extensive or big game, it won't be able to run on your computer because your computer is literally determining the fact that it doesn't have the capacity to run that big program. So it will just give you a warning and say, I can't run this. Then you might have to actually buy a graphics card or other peripheral units to be able to run that. Then another thing, it assists you in the implementation of programs through computer user communication system at both hardware and software level. That's another function of your operating system, to make sure that the programs that you are running can communicate fully, which is what we talked about actually when we talk about it acts as an interface between you, the user, and the hardware that you are using. And also other software that you put on top of the operating system, because remember, it's not only the operating system that you'll be using when you're using your computer. You'll be having other programs as well that you'll be using. So such programs will be actually controlled by your operating system. All right, I think we can end at this point so that we can leave the rest to the next video so that I don't make these videos too long. I think we're already 17 minutes in. That's a little bit too long. Let's meet on the next video as we continue on our multi-user operating systems. Thank you.